This is Empire Sports Alliance, unfiltered. No fluff, no filters, just the real side of sports. We're talking athletes, coaches, agents, doctors, executives, the people behind the scenes who actually move the needle. From building careers to surviving the grind to winning off the field. This is where real conversations collide.
Welcome to another episode of Empire Sports Alliance Unfiltered. I'm Ronnie. I'm the wealth guy. Today I got CJ Avery, former college and NFL player. CJ, welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. So CJ, normally the way I start is kind of have you talk a little bit about, your journey. Obviously, you've been in college football, you've played in the NFL, XFL, and now you're in athletics with, in Louisville. So if you wouldn't mind trying to kind of walk us a little bit through your past and just how you got started in the football and, go through the different steps, from a youth perspective, high school, college, etc. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. I'll start off my journey. Obviously, it's sports related, man. I've been in the sports world my whole life. Grew up in a sports family. Dad played football, cousins played football. Everyone. So football is kind of what I knew and what I felt like I was kind of born to do. But just starting off, where I'm from, and I grew up in a small town called Grenada, Mississippi. Was a young kid who just had ambitions to do something big one day, and that started with working and going out to the fields. Obviously playing sports, playing multiple sports, and that was every day. That was getting out, just being active, and then also taking school serious, things like that as well, because I knew education was something that I wanted as well in life. So growing, starting my story from there in Mississippi, ended up playing high school ball, was the first enrollment All-American in my high school. So the talent was there. I knew I could do it. And then from there, earned scholarships.
You play linebacker, right, CJ?
Yeah. So I was a safety, and then I transitioned to linebacker. Yeah.
What made that transition? So, why did they do that? Is it just?
Yeah, no, that was it was just honestly, it was because of injury purposes and stuff like that. It was the team I was on at the time needed a linebacker, so just transitioned down to linebacker and I made it happen. So yeah, but and then through that was a crazy process with recruiting and things like that, and then transition and make the decision to go to the University of Louisville.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that, especially for the audience, as we have younger, folks that again might play, high school football right now? How was that in terms of that whole, process of recruiting? You got letters for a bunch of schools. You visited a bunch of schools. What was it?
Yeah, no, I think we can have a whole story on the recruiting, man. It was a crazy experience. So I was out. My first scholarship was around maybe, I think 11th grade. When I was in 11th grade, my first scholarship was from Mississippi State. And then from there, it got rolling. I ended up racking up 25 offers in high school from different universities. And the way that I would say to any young kid that's listening is, even if you feel like it's not happening, just continue to put in the work, continue to stay the course, and make sure you're doing everything you can do.
Yeah.
Because you don't control what you control. So that's what I did, because I was in those shoes of coming out 9th and 10th grade. I didn't have any opportunities. And then I was like, man, I'm working so hard, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, the first one came. And so that first one come.
And that was the Bulldogs, you said, Mississippi State?
Yeah, my first offer was Mississippi State. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So with Mississippi State, that process was they're reaching out. They had a specific coach come down, come see you, and watch you practice in spring practice, watch you practice in fall, obviously your season. And then as well as making sure that a lot of young athletes don't understand is they just think that they watch you play football. No, they watch every single thing that you're doing. They watch you being in school. They watch how you show up in your community. All of those good things that I think are great to know as a young athlete, because all you think about, they just want to see my fam. Yeah, that's important, but the important thing too is they want to recruit good people as well. So,
and again, that you're talking about high school going into college. It's not even the pro, right? You're talking at that level, at that age.
Exactly.
With social media, et cetera, in terms of how you interact, what you say, what you like, all that stuff obviously plays a role as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's it, man. You want to make sure you're a holistic athlete. You're a person that just you are all well rounded. Because I can tell you these even stories where the secretary of my high school, she was being asked by college scout, like, what's he do like on a day-to-day basis? So those are the type of questions that they're asking. They're making a investment on you. So you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you're a great investment.
Okay. No, that's good. So again, what other letters did you get in terms of like what other invites or offers for scholarships?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it started with Mississippi State. Then from there, it went, Alabama was my second one with Nick Saban. So that was a really cool opportunity
You had
that
an opportunity to
Nick
go to
Saban
Alabama?
reached out.
Okay.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to Alabama. And then from there, it was Ole Miss and then Stanford, those type of schools.
Holy
It was
crap.
a lot of different opportunities. So I had a pretty crazy recruiting process, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And then, like I said, the biggest thing is understanding that you can only choose one school. So that's what I would tell any young person going through it right now is, yeah, all of it looks good, but you can only really choose one school, and you can only sign that one letter of intent, and you got to make sure that it fits with you. Maybe your friends or your family or everybody else may think that it's the great
Yes.
decision for you, but you got to honestly dig deep within yourself and say, all right, this is what I want to do. And then that's how you ultimately come to a decision. So that was the recruiting process for me. It was letters. It was official visits in the homes. I had Bobby Petrino,
Yep.
Dan Mullen, all those type of coaches come to the home visits. And it was a great time. Like I said, we can have a whole story
I mean,
on
you got to enjoy it a little
recruitment.
bit, right? I mean, it feels
Yeah,
pretty
no,
good. If Ole Miss is visiting you, Alabama's calling you, I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
would want to embrace that, process, I could imagine.
for sure. Yeah, and that's it, man. You definitely embrace it, especially for me being in a small town. I think
Yeah.
like I'm never a person that I don't really care to have the spotlight, but if it's on me, it's on me. I'm gonna make sure it's fine on other people as well. So I was able to, the attention that I was getting was able to reflect on my best friend who he got 15 scholarships and ended up going to the University of Memphis and played in the NFL for 5 years. So it's like things like that where not only you're impacting yourself, but you're affecting the people that's around you by being a really great talent and gaining that exposure. So if any young kid out there, you have those dreams or you work hard and you get the opportunity to get recruited like that, put your people on too, because those are the people that you came up with and got you to where you're at.
So at the end, you ended up picking Louisville. What was the difference?
That's it, man. So yeah, to the conclusion of all of that recruiting, man. I ended up choosing the University of Louisville. I think it came down to, if I remember correctly, it was Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, and Louisville. And I ended up picking Louisville just because I felt at home at the time.
Yeah.
And I still do to this day. Obviously, it paid off well for me because I'm back here now. But it was a much bigger picture for me. I was focused on the football. Louisville was playing really good football
Yeah.
because they ended up obviously were number two in the country, right? It's
What year was
Lamar
this?
Jackson. This was 2017.
That's Lamar
So
Jackson still, right?
that was Lamar Jackson, the Cosme years. So the buzz was amazing, and that's what attracted me.
Yep.
And then I ultimately chose it because I had a different outlook than most recruits would. I was thinking long term. Like a lot of people know me down south. A lot of people understand who I am, whatever, because of football. But no one really in Kentucky has probably ever heard of CJ Avery. And I told myself, like, how can I go to a different state this far away from home and just make my own legacy? And that was a future. That was a thinking in the future decision. So ended up choosing Louisville. Louisville's like the pro team of this city. So everything that happens in Louisville revolves around Louisville football, Louisville basketball. And I was like, I would love to just be, I'm a staple of that. So that was the reason I made my decision and ended up obviously making it happen. And now transitioning to my college career.
There's certain lessons from like, coaches and teammates, that still influence you today.
Throughout my college career
Yeah.
or,
Yes, with Louisville.
yeah,
Oh yeah, we're going
yeah,
to
I
go
would
to the
say,
pro side as well, but yes, for Louisville at this point.
yeah, no, for sure. Just, obviously the time at Louisville was really good as well. I think the quote that sticks with me the most is, and I think it's a football quote, but it transitions to life as well. But the quote that I would say, one of my coaches told me, good players make the plays that they're supposed to. Great players make the plays they're supposed to, and the ones that they don't. So that kind of stuck with me. And then, anybody listening that's, if you're in business or you're
Yeah.
transitioning out of the ball, the way that I see that and the way that I feel like that translates is because, when we get out of the game and you get into that business world, like you're expected to do the things that you're supposed to do, but you go beyond what you're supposed to do and execute that at a high level. Now, then you become elite. And when you become elite like that, more people want you, more people want to be a part of your story and things like that. So that's kind of how I relate that story
Uh-huh.
to obviously to post career and business and anything else I do in life. Cause I'm a person that just loves to strive for greatness. Like I really can't, I don't like anything mediocre. I don't like being mediocre. And it's just, that's me. That's my competitive spirit. So I do whatever I can to make sure that the product that I'm giving off is.
Wasn't it Saban that had like one of these great clips in terms of like, high achievers do not like mediocre people don't like, so you got to make sure who you want to get off the bus. I mean, we're talking about football. I think it's very relatable to like, the world, of business for sure. So, and again, if you just think about like a week, on campus in terms of when you're practicing before game day and all that stuff, it's all about discipline, right? Showing up the right time, delivering and all that stuff. Like, I mean, what do people need to understand if you look at it like a regular, like, work week, so to speak, at the university playing linebacker for Louisville?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you're talking about. You have to think about the discipline. You have to think about the hours you're putting in. You have to think about you being held accountable, all of those type of things. So like the day to day for me, whenever I was at the University of Louisville, was making sure I'm well, coming in on time. So that's your time management. That's your, being accountable, that type of piece. And
Mhm.
then the biggest thing is obviously the effort that you're putting in. I think
Yeah.
none of this that we're talking about happens if you don't put the effort in because it just doesn't happen by itself. It's you have to go out and you have to go make it happen for yourself and for obviously if you're talking team setting your team as well. So that's what I would say that the day looks like for me. It looked like for me whenever I was an athlete, just coming in, getting my workouts done,
Yep.
meeting a lot. I mean, then I was a captain as well, so I had to do a lot of leadership things that pertain to meeting with guys, meeting with coaches on the extra time, and then doing a lot of work in the community as well.
Okay. Oh, that's good. And you played at Louisville for how long? Did you do the full 4 years?
Yeah, I was there for 5 years with the COVID year.
Oh, the COVID. Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and
Mhm.
I didn't ask you that in terms of you played what, middle linebacker?
Yeah, I played both the middle linebacker and weak side linebacker
Okay.
position.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So now again, you played for 5 years, right? So, how tell us a little bit in terms of like, once, it's your last year talking about, potentially, going into the NFL. How was that like? How did that, work out and what was the
Yeah,
process?
no, for sure. It was a great process for me. I felt like I given college everything I got, everything I had. So I was cool with transitioning. Like I knew that I had set myself up for a pretty good transition as far as like play wise and things like that. So I was happy about getting ready to transition to the next chapter of my life. I was
Uh-huh.
excited. I knew I had put in all the work that I needed to before. And then the transition to that was to start your workout. So that's doing all your combine prep, your pro day prep. So just making sure you're getting right on your 40, your shuttle, all those different testing measurables that you have to do. So that was that. And then obviously learning how to interview. How to interview was a really big piece
Oh,
that a
tell
lot of
us more
people
about
don't.
that. Again, there was
Mhm.
another fellow that, again, it's a funny story. Like he was ended up with the Browns. I think he was a 6th round pick, but he was on the show
Mhm.
before and he told us a story. He wasn't mentioning the team, but, they basically made him like write down a rap and then perform the rap. So
Yeah.
I thought it was crazy, but, what is, kind of like when you say know how to interview, what does that entail?
Yeah, from a football standpoint, that entails you being able to just draw a play. That entails you being able to answer questions. Can you retain
Yeah.
information and then throw it back out to your coach and let them know what you just retained. So that's what the interview process was all about for me. I didn't really have any type crazy
No,
stories,
none of
but
this.
yeah, for sure, it wasn't the route I've heard of some stories like that, but one thing I do know is like a lot of it for me was board work, being able to get on the board, being able to talk through football because, once you get to that level, they got to know that you know football because,
Yeah.
you're playing at a high level and you have to execute at a high level. So for me, my process was that, and then I obviously made it through that process and was undrafted free agent to the Chicago Bears, where I had an opportunity to go there and go to training camp, do all those good
Were
things.
you slated to? Were you supposed to be drafted? Was there any indication in terms of working with your?
Yeah, no, I had some projections for like fourth through seventh round,
Yeah,
and even during the draft, and then I had a couple phone calls
yeah.
with a couple different teams, and they were calling and they potentially pick me in like the fifth round. All of those things that happen. You never know how it
Right?
goes
I
on
mean, a
draft
lot of
day.
this crap is fluff, right? We had a few guys on
Yeah,
there saying, yeah, they got those calls, but they also field these calls just kind of to get in your ear in terms of like, hey, we might be interested in terms of drafting you, oh, excuse me, signing you as
yeah.
an undrafted free agent, et cetera. So again, you got to take it with a grain of salt, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely got to take it with a grain of salt. And when you get your out, at the end of the day, and then whoever's listening to it, it's all about the opportunity. As
Yeah,
long as you get your one spot, then nothing else really matters after that. Because once we're all in the same building, they're gonna evaluate everybody the same and say, all right, how are you producing? How are you not? And then you earn your shot from there. There's so many stories about the underdogs that has made it and who are superstars or continue to have a long career in the NFL. You just gotta get your foot in the door, and then from there you just go. So yeah.
that's awesome. Good stuff. So again, so undrafted, so the Bears are calling. So now you signed with them, right?
hmm Yes, sir. So yep, did that. I ended up going from the Bears where I sustained an injury during training camp with the Bears. So that led me to ended up going to I got waived or whatever, got cut, and then ended up going to the XFL
Uh-huh.
where I played in that league and I enjoyed it. I was healthy. I was playing some of the best ball of my career, in my opinion, and
And that
I
was
was
again,
ready
that
to
was in
go.
Vegas, right? You with the
Yeah,
Vipers.
that was with the
Yeah. Okay.
that was with the Las Vegas
Yeah.
Vipers, and that was kind of when we started it all. When they started it up with the Rock and all of those great people, and
Yeah.
that was a great experience. Had some great times. So Rod Wilson was my legendary football player. He was a great coach as well. Got to learn a lot of football from him. And then after that, it was a little transition for me. Ended up transitioning to the Canadian Football League,
Yeah.
where I played for the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and that's where I kind of finished my career off and had some great times in Canada. Canada was amazing. And one thing I do want to say for anybody listening as well that's, has those ambitions is your pro journey will be, up and down. Like playing ball, you'll never truly feel like you're just going like this all the time. Like there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. That's just a part of this journey. Even the best players or the greatest players that had their times where it's like it feels like it's up and down. So just continue to keep a level head, continue to stay consistent throughout it all. Because as long as you put the work in, as long as you continue to take advantage of your opportunities that you have now, everything else will take care of itself. So that's kind of the advice I got for that professional journey that I had, and I'm grateful for how mine.
Yeah, no, I think we talked before the show, but we had Chris Trevor on before. Obviously, I'm a Jets fan, so he had some good stories to talk about in terms of like the CFL as well, and obviously just kind of what you described. He experienced the same thing from an up and down, right? You know, so I think it was with the Cardinals, but he won a championship in the CFL. Then he comes back and he has this moment of Thursday night for the Jets and whatnot. It's just this like constant like up and down, right? But
Okay.
I just want to go back real quick because in terms of the Bears, you're saying so you got injured. Was there an opportunity to potentially? Did you think you're going to make the team? Was there a good chance?
Yeah, yeah, I had a really good opportunity to make it, man. It was
Yeah,
between me, I think it was another, I forget the player's name, but he ended up making it as well. It was a toss up between us two. We were playing really
yeah.
high level ball. Like I said, it's just the unfortunate beast of the game. I got injured at the wrong time,
You
and
see that?
it's just how it goes.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, you're seeing it that way because that's brutal, right? So because you're feeling like, hey, I could have been picked between the fourth and the seventh. Okay, that didn't happen. You're undrafted. You
Yeah,
get your shot, right? You're in training camp, and now you get injured. What kind of injury was it?
it was a hamstring injury.
Those are lingering. They had okay.
Yeah.
So now, just because of an injury, you're basically that's how cutthroat it is. Because again, you can't really mail it in and training. You can't be there. It's like I'm going to take it easy so I don't hurt myself, right? You got to go in terms of to showcase and make a case to be on the team, right? I just think it's
Uh,
brutal. It's
for
really
sure.
cutthroat. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the business that we're in. You got to
yeah,
make sure that you're healthy. You got to make sure you're doing the right thing. You're staying productive because if not, it is what it is. Like teams got to make sure that they put the right product out there. And unfortunately, it's just situations like that where sometimes you get the bad end of the stick, and you got to learn how to pivot. That's the biggest thing when you're a pro athlete is you can't really come in and with feelings. You got to more so just understand that it is a business and you got to handle your business the right way.
since you talk about being prepared and all that stuff, can you talk a little bit about the physical, the mental, the nutritional aspect of things in terms of again, obviously being ready from a mental perspective, but also physically in terms of what's the regiment look like?
Yeah, it's a nonstop process. That's all the way through weekly, daily. That's everything. You have to make sure you're on top of your physical abilities and the routine that you have to do. Recovery is a huge part of being a professional athlete. Making sure the body is prepped and ready to go before and after practice. You can't just like any young athlete out here. You get down with practice. It's not just go home. It's all right. I got to spend the extra hour or two stretching or
Yeah.
making sure I go get in the cold tub, hot tub, those type of things. So it's physically, mentally, and emotionally draining when you're a professional athlete. That's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
You have to deal with a lot. So I just spoke on that physical part. The mental aspect is honestly, man, that's where you have to worry about the plays. You have to worry about your life, the work-life balance. Like it's really no balance when you're a professional athlete because everything is catered to trying to be really, really great at what you're doing. So you don't really have time to really do too much else other than just
I
obviously
mean, it's such
fall
a
in your seat.
yeah, for you guys, it's such a compressed timeline. Again, I say it all the time, right? I can do this till I'm 75, whatnot, right? For you as a professional athlete playing linebacker, you have a very small window of opportunity, right? So, I mean, basically, you don't really have, I always think it's funny when they talk about work-life balance. If
Yeah.
you want to be a professional athlete to play at the level that you did, there is no balance, or is there? I'm just because I think
Yeah.
it transfers into like the business, career as well. So, what is your take there?
I don't think that it's really a true balance, honestly, because if you're trying to be really, really good, you're gonna put everything you have into it. And it's like anything else that you're doing is a distraction to you. It just depends on how great do you want to truly be.
Yeah,
You can always be, average and just be a person that's just kind of doing it just to do it. But if you're trying to be, the top elite people, and it comes with some,
no.
I think more work than play. So
I think,
that's what it is.
yeah, I know. Work hard, play hard. It's just, most of the time, in order to play hard, you have to probably work a little harder. I don't know.
For
But
sure.
was there any particular misconception going into professional sports, what you saw, XFL, CFL, NFL, anything that, that you thought is going to be a certain way, what was different?
No, I mean, it was everything I expected it to
Yeah.
be. Nothing really was like crazy to me. Only thing, obviously, I think, when you're in it and you're playing in it, like the game speed is very, very fast. So,
Yes.
you're an average person just watching it on TV, you're probably just like thinking, like, that's just football, like he should do. No, the game speed is a totally different element when you're talking about pros versus college and high school and things like that. So,
Yeah.
that's
It's a
only
different
what
level
it is.
right off the bat. You notice it, right?
Yeah, it's a different level. You understand why the people are in the NFL for a reason.
Okay. Okay. So you had a professional career, you played in college now, in terms of like kind of talking a little bit about finding purpose, after football, the transition, how was
Yeah.
the,
Uh,
was it difficult in terms of transition going into more of like, again, the field of like, you're in now, athletics,
yeah. Yeah, and I think this is perfect for me, man. This is exactly what I'm doing and is exactly what I'm passionate about is the transition phase when you're an athlete and then transitioning out of your sport. I think that's some of the hardest times that any
Yeah.
athlete goes through, whether that's high school, college, or pro. It's a dark place and a dark time that you got to figure out or try to get ahead of before you get to that point. And for me personally, it was a very hard transition just because football has been, everything I've known
Yeah.
since I was a young kid, and that's all I ever wanted to do, and I could never see myself doing anything different until I had to do something different. And for me, it was just, obviously seeing it through injuries is what kind of woke me up and made me say, all right, what's outside of football? Or ask yourself the question, who are you outside your sport? I think that's what every athlete should ask themselves. So if you are listening to this and you're a younger athlete, go ahead and ask yourself that question, like, who am I outside of the sport? What do I like to do? Those type of things, because then you'll prepare yourself once the game is over. Because the ball will go flat, the ball will stop bouncing. All of those great quotes that we can come up with, that is going to happen to every athlete, and no matter who you have to make sure that you're prepared for it. And that's kind of what led me into what I'm doing now. That's my passion, that's my purpose. I feel like I was put on this earth to motivate, to mentor, to do those type of things, to help younger athletes that came after me, or even the ones that's playing that I know, being able to help them because I can relate to my journey, and my journey is my journey, but it's meant to help others or impact others in some type of way. I truly believe that. So that's landed to me to fast forward now to where I'm at the University of Louisville, working with Louisville Athletics. I'm now doing the student athlete development and working with football player engagement. So that's just basically being able to help athletes become a holistic person outside the game, basically caring about the person under the helmet or whatever sport that they're playing.
And how old were you when you retired, fully retired?
Yeah, I was 26.
See, yeah, that's what I mean. Like I always have this discussion. You didn't up to 26. You didn't really know anything, besides football, right? And that's what it's
Mhm.
such a short period of time, but you have another 30 plus years in the workforce now. Now what, right?
Right.
Because again, working with like retired clients, et cetera, that used to be, like athletes. That mental aspect of all of a sudden. I mean, the vast majority of us, I would imagine, can't really, fathom or imagine in terms of how it feels like, right? You're running out on that field, like there's an entire stadium going nuts. And all of a sudden
Mhm.
that comes to a screeching halt. At least, nobody's cheering for me going into a conference room, I can tell you that much. But,
Right.
and if there is, yeah, that's a whole different problem. But yeah,
Right.
so when you talk about player development, or, just beyond football, can you talk a little bit more about, or again, especially with what you do now, with Louisville Athletics in terms of like leadership development, professional kind of communication, financial, literally management, that type of stuff, and the level of importance it is in terms of like learning it at a young age and then how it transitions into the workforce, once you're done playing?
Yeah. No, I think that's like I said, this is a passion for me, and so that's a little bit about what I do here at the University of Louisville is through the whole professional, the personal, the enhancement of yourself, making sure that obviously you know about things like LinkedIn, making sure you know about your interview skills. So we have media day workshops, we have pretty much anything you think of, community service, learning how to get out in the community, learning how to network. We have those career network nights where we have our student athletes and they learn how to network with different business owners or CEOs, those type of things. Because all of those type of things relate to when you're done with the game, and even the honestly the elite people, they know how to do it while you're playing. So we talked about that work-life
Yes.
balance recently, but the thing is like you're outside whenever you do decide to worry about anything that's outside the game, like you have to be elite at that too. So the great ones, they know how to do that. They know how to continue to keep a professional presence and continue to network at a high level and all those things because you're thinking about, all right, when I am done being great at this sport, all right, let's be great at the next thing as well. So that's a little bit about what we do, about what I do, just really creating those workshops, being someone who had been in their shoes as a student athlete, just being able to give some great advice. It might not even pertain to, something that's very deep. It might just be a simple question about where to go or who should they look to, things like that. And I'm just here to be a resource
Yeah.
in that aspect. But the fun things are teaching guys and gals how to network and do those type of things because that applies to you whenever you get to the business world. You have to learn how to speak in a professional setting. You have to learn how your professional appearance look as well. That's a big thing that a lot of athletes don't think about is that speaking and the appearance of yourself in professional settings. Not does it doesn't just start when you finish the game, it starts while you play it as well. So you gotta make sure that's what we're doing here.
So you would obviously encourage, folks, young athletes, to at an early age think for the future in terms of preparing themselves, not just for playing on the field, but what comes after at an early, not just, basically start planning once you're done playing, right? Because again,
Mm-hmm.
from a mental aspect, I could imagine that's not, if you have zero plans going in, hey, I'm done playing football, no planning whatsoever. I think from a mental perspective, that could be, pretty, tough.
For sure, absolutely. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm all about, man. I think it's you have to make sure that you're thinking about your future in some type of capacity. I know
Yeah.
the cliche is to be where your feet are, and you can be where your feet are and make sure you handle on your business, but you also need to make sure that whatever your foundation you're setting right now, that whenever you look into the future, you understand that you're going to help yourself out by doing the right things
I
right now.
mean, you were fortunate enough to go to, again, work with the Bears and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm sure you agree, the vast majority of college athletes will never play professional sports, right?
Yeah,
So in
yeah,
terms of the importance of being prepared, et cetera, going into the workforce, I think you talked about networking. I just talked from my own business, right? I think the importance of that, even if you stay within athletics, if you want to go to the coaching route, they want to go through like, the broadcasting route, I think early on making that connections with, again, coaching staff, other folks around that, I think that's good advice just because you can build that, you can build that early. I'm sure you made some good connections, playing at Louisville, coming back and now working within the athletics department. Would you agree?
For sure, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing that any young athlete that's watching this right now, they should understand that relationships is the key to your success in a lot of things that you do in life. I mean, I've been fortunate to have some really good relationships, like you said, former coaches, athletic directors, all those types of people that you build those relationships with. But you got to make sure you're being very intentional when you build those relationships. Don't just say hi and then keep walking. No, actually have conversation,
Yeah.
found out the person that they are. That way, whenever you do need an opportunity or you do want to go down the line and pursue a different career, you can always reach out to them. It's not just small talk. It's something that's deeper than just a hi and bye conversation. We had a real conversation. So that's the advice I would give to a younger athlete for
Hmm.
sure. Build relationships with
Yeah.
everybody in the building.
So, student athletes these days, they face challenges that didn't exist 15 years ago, right? What concerns you the most? And when I say concern, what do you see the biggest challenge for a student athlete these days versus when, again, 15 years back?
Yeah, I would just say the focus is on or they have to be extremely focused at this point in their lives because of the landscape of college football now with the NIL, all of that. Like, it's so many distractions that could, you know, change your focus from making sure you're executing and handling your business on the field that you're so worried about the money, you're so worried about the different distractions that come with that. And yeah, that's why I would say the biggest challenge for them right now is just learning how to stay focused on the main priority, which is playing the sport that you're playing.
Yeah. Again, that kind of leads me to the next part in terms of talking about NIL. You just mentioned the money aspect of things, right? Because, and maybe before we start there, what was your experience with that? Once again, you get these offers, you kind of elaborated on it. All of a sudden, everybody surrounding you has an opinion, wants you to go a certain way. How do you stay level headed and make the right decision that's right for you?
Yeah, I think that's honestly first it starts with knowing who you are. You got to know yourself. You got to understand what you stand for and what you don't. Because, like I say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And you gotta just make sure you stay level-headed. The advice I would give in that situation is to just keep a tight circle. Don't have 1,000 friends that you. I mean, you could have 1,000 friends, but don't make sure you listen to all 1,000 of those opinions. Make sure you have that tight circle of your core group that you truly listen to and that believe in you and you know that it's speaking positivity into your life.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So going into NIL now, in terms of what is your take? Where do you see the benefits? Where do you see the challenges? I know it's a loaded question, but
No, for sure, you're good. the NILs for that I see, it's crazy. It's a crazy different different aspect of college landscape. I think it's good. So, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing that they're getting compensated for what they do because
Yes.
what athletes in college do now is really hard, and it's great to have that financial aspect for them now because they should be getting this. I love to see the stories of guys taking care of their families and by making sure their mom's good or your dad good,
Hmm.
whatever the case may
Yes.
be. I love to see that because I think you work hard to provide for your family, and if you're able to do it while you're in college, that's a win, man. 'Cause
Yeah.
a lot of people don't get that chance to do that. So that's my opinion on it. I think I think it will have probably some stipulations come in the next year or two. So just honestly, because it has to find out how to make this a pro-like setting. If you're gonna get paid like a pro, you gotta also be treated like a pro in a way. So I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if they're gonna come up with some type of
Yeah.
rules or
I know
things
they're
like that.
working on
But I
that.
think
Yeah. There's a
yeah, I
limitations,
know.
etc. But
I've heard, yeah, I've heard some of the talks, but I love it. I love it, man.
yeah.
I think the guys they deserve that. And it just gotta, like I said, I think the biggest thing is learning how to stay focused. And that's where, like I said, my job is really important is to be able to show them the other perspective that they're probably not thinking about, which is giving them that financial advice, giving them that perspective of, who to put in your circle, who to trust, all those sort of things.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Well, CJ, those are very, serious topics. So now I kind of want to switch a couple of other stuff. Just want to see your take. You're a defensive player. Let's talk college football, NFL next. Defense. What do you see coming upcoming season? What do you see in terms of college football? Who has a good defensive unit that kind of stuck out to you so far in terms of preparation for the new season?
As far as team,
Yes, yeah. If you have I'm a Texas fan. Just won't hold that against me, but I think we have a pretty good defensive core. So, what is your take?
no, for sure. I would say, I mean, obviously, I'm at the University of Louisville. I love what we have to offer on defense here. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been able to watch a lot of the obviously practices and stuff. I love what we have here. I would say around the country though, I haven't watched too much of it, but I do
yeah,
know it's a couple of things out there that I have watched. Ole Miss.
yeah.
Ole Miss has a really good defense. And Texas as well. I love Texas. I mean, Texas speed is really different. I think they have a really fast defense. So I would say those three. I'd like to see exactly. And we play Ole Miss the first game, so I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup.
Okay. What about the NFL? What do you see defensively? What units do you like?
Yeah, as far as NFL, I love obviously I don't know this year, but last year Seattle's defense
Yeah.
was unbelievable. I love watching Seattle play last year. I think that was one of the best defenses that I personally loved last year, just because I feel like they didn't have any holes in their defense.
Yeah.
They were good on all three levels: the defensive line, and the linebackers, and the secondary. So that was really good to watch, and they put a masterpiece on against who was the 49ers in the
Yeah.
playoff game
Well,
and the champion.
what do you think about the Texans defense?
You said Texans?
Yes.
Texans, they were really good as well. They were really good defense. I love obviously D'Amico
Yeah.
his name, D'Amico, the head coach. Yeah, love his style. I know a couple guys that played for him, and then they said he's probably one of the best coaches they've been around. So
Oh yeah.
that's something
I,
that's
I think he did
really
pretty
nice.
well. And that's what I mean. Obviously, he was a linebacker himself, but right. But in terms of even offensively, I think he has. I think he's done a phenomenal job. So for that perspective,
Yeah, he's done a great job. Houston got a bright future, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah. You think he's going to go somewhere else besides the Texans one point?
I don't know. I
So
mean,
it seems to be a good fit.
yeah, he's a great fit. I wouldn't change it if as long as it looks good and continue to win.
That's true. Good. So as the next segment towards the end, I normally have some kind of rapid fire questions. Yeah, sometimes we call it the walk off 10 and whatnot. So I got a few questions for you here. Just short answers if you can. So best teammates you've ever had, or best teammate. Sorry.
Best team that I ever had.
I mean, I know they were all
Um,
great, but if you had to pick one.
yeah, 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 yeah. I would say I'm gonna go with. You talking about like best player that I ever played with?
Yeah, for you, whatever the best
Yeah,
teammate is. Might not be the best
I'll
player,
go
might
with it.
be
I'll go with. I'll just go with that. All my teammates are great, but I'm gonna say the best player I ever played with, obviously Lamar Jackson,
yeah. Go on. I would imagine,
one of the best
I would
teammates I
imagine
ever
so.
had. part of talent. That's a generational talent. I'll tell my kids about that one.
Yeah. Do you have some good stories in terms of like practicing against him?
Yeah, for sure, man. It was shoot. I was a freshman when Lamar was here, and I obviously had to do the scout cards against them every week and elite, elite. Because the one thing that's the one thing about the greatness part that I would say is like learning and watching guys like him is they genuinely just do everything at a high level. He
Mhm.
practiced at a really high level. He wasn't one of those type of people that just kind of take the day off. Like he practiced really, really, really hard. And obviously he was making sure, hey, give me the best looks you can so I can be good on Saturday. So that was some of the best times that I had. I'm just watching him go. Obviously, shoot, it was even at home where like I had to make an open field tackle. I couldn't tackle the quarterback in practice, but I had to like tag off in practice and like I got to see what that was like to be in open field with Lamar, making those moves. So a really, 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 really cool experience.
Did you get him?
Yeah, I got him. I got him. I actually
There you
did.
go.
It was fun. I mean, I was like, I don't know, maybe this was really tackling. Maybe I probably missed, but no, I'm just messing. But no, Lamar was a really good one.
All right, good. What's the hardest player you ever faced?
Hardest player
Mhm.
I would probably say in college it was Travis Etienne in
Oh, running
college,
back?
and
Ace,
then
yeah, with
yeah,
Clemson.
yeah, Clemson running back Travis Etienne, and then for as NFL was when I was with Chicago, David Montgomery was a really, really
Oh, okay, yeah, that's another good one.
yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest difference you saw between the NFL or CFL?
The rules were a
Yeah.
lot different. Obviously, you got guys going and pre-snap motion where in the CFL they can move and do all those things. So your eyes got to be a lot better. And then I'll say the three down versus four down rule is a
Yeah.
very crucial rule that you got to understand because
How do you
it
how do
kind
you
of changes
switch
it.
when all of a sudden you're going from the
Yeah,
NFL to the CFL? It's not that easy, I could imagine, because
no, it's not. You kind of gotta wire your mind a little different. You gotta understand that if you try to think about it in the NFL term, you gotta think about starting at second down and just getting
Mhm.
to fourth down. So that's kind of how it was. But you catch on pretty quick as long as you understand the game.
Yeah.
Because in the CFL, they attack you a little different. Like usually, NFL, they run the ball first, second down, try to get to the third, get a manageable third down. No CFL, like they use a lot of the short passes as their runners, things like that.
What's what's your favorite Louisville football memory?
Favorite little football memory, I would say that it's the 2019 Tax Slayer Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee. We won against Mississippi State. That was a really, really fun
Is
season.
that a personal one for you?
Yeah, no, it was definitely personal. It was great. I had a crazy journey. All my bowl games in college were the first one was against Mississippi State, and then my second to the last one was against Mississippi State. So I played Mississippi State twice. I lost the first one and won the second one. So that was a revenge game for me.
Good, good. I mean, people do circle that stuff. I mean, everybody, if you see the interviews, I'm like, no, it's like preparation like any other game. Like, don't give me that. That can't be.
No, for sure. It was fun to do. I mean, obviously bowl games you don't really know that it's going to happen until you see
Yes,
the
yes.
selection.
Okay.
It was just fun to obviously play teams from my home state because there's a lot of Mississippi State fans or Ole Miss fans in my hometown. So when that game comes on, everybody's tuning in. So that was kind of it wasn't nothing against the school. It was more so just being for my hometown people.
Yeah. What do you think the most underrated leadership trait is?
Listening, listening.
Listening.
I
Okay.
think that's probably the most underrated because most leaders, if you think about it, they're trying to tell you exactly what to do or all those type of things. But I think the really great leaders are the ones that actually listen and then hear out the people that's following them.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received. That's a great question. I would say that probably I'll just keep it this simple. Is to be where your feet are. And I know we talked about that a little earlier, but I think you really gotta hone in on that, be where your feet are, because if you just make sure you take care of what you're doing right now, the rest of
Hmm.
it take care of itself.
Yeah, control the now, you're saying. All right, good.
hmm
Coffee or energy drinks?
I'm an energy drink guy with coffee.
Well, that's an easy one. Then. Okay. Last one. So, one word that defines success for you.
One word that defines success. Mhm. That's a great question. I would say freedom for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Having the ability.
freedom.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's true. Good stuff. Well, good. Well, CJ, I appreciate your time, and hopefully, I'm sure it seems like you're going to have a lot to share with those young folks, and they
Absolutely.
they'll be well advised to listen to you and come for ask for advice. I think that's be good. So it's really good to have you on the show. I appreciate you making the time today.
Yes, sir. No problem at all. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks.